Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be exploring this idea of Raja Yoga.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and our source material for this is a YouTube video. It's actually an audiobook called The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1.3.8, Raja Yoga Chapter 8, Raja Yoga in Brief.
Okay.
And that's from a YouTube channel called Shravanam.org. So basically, it's summarizing some core principles of Raja Yoga, and it's pulling these from an ancient Hindu scripture, the Kurma Purana.
Interesting. So what exactly is Raja Yoga? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, what's the ultimate goal?
Well, so at the core of Raja Yoga is this idea of liberation, what they would call nirvana. It's about purifying the mind and realizing your true self, that spark of divinity within, and then ultimately achieving a state of oneness with, well, with the universe and the divine.
So it's more than just the physical practice, right? I mean, I think a lot of people, when they think about yoga, they think about the poses and things like that.
Definitely. It's much more comprehensive than just the physical poses, although the physical practice does play a role. Raja Yoga involves both the mind and the body.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's actually divided into two parts, Abhava and Maha Yoga. Think of Abhava as like the foundation.
Okay.
It's where you meditate on the self as void, free from any qualities.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of stripping away all the layers that we identify with
Yeah.
until you get to this pure essence beneath.
Okay. So Maha Yoga is kind of where all the magic happens then.
You could say that. Maha Yoga takes you on this journey of experiencing your true self as blissful and pure and one with the universe and God.
Wow.
That's considered like the highest form of Raja Yoga, where you really kind of merge with the infinite.
That's a pretty profound concept.
Right.
But how do you actually get there? Like, what does this path look like in practice?
Well, that's where the 8 steps of Raja Yoga come in. They're like signposts along the way. Each one builds upon the last, guiding you toward self-mastery and spiritual awakening.
Oh, wow. 8 steps.
Yeah. So the 8 steps are Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, and Samadhi.
Okay. 8 steps. It sounds like quite a journey.
It is.
So let's start with the first step, Yama. What's the focus here?
Yama is all about laying a solid ethical foundation.
Okay.
It's about aligning your actions with your inner values. You know, walking the walk, so to speak.
Yeah, deal. Yeah.
And there are 5 principles that fall under Yama.
Okay.
Those are ahimsa, nonviolence; satya, truthfulness; asteya, non-stealing; brahmacharya, chastity; and aparigraha, non-attachment.
So before we even think about, like higher states of consciousness, we need to kind of get our moral compass in order.
Exactly. And the source material uses this really fascinating story to illustrate this. It's about the sage Narada who encounters these 2 men on his path. One man is meditating, like really intensely. He's been doing it for years. But he's told that he still needs 4 more lifetimes to reach liberation. And then there's this other man who isn't as outwardly disciplined, but he's filled with joy and dedication, and he's told that he has many more lives before enlightenment. But because of his genuine enthusiasm, he's granted liberation, like right then and there.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So it's not just about like the outward displays of discipline, but about the inner state of being as well.
Exactly.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
It suggests that anyone, regardless of their background or their current state, can achieve enlightenment.
Yeah, anyone can achieve enlightenment.
It's about approaching the path with sincerity, with dedication, whatever form that takes for you.
Mm.
I like that. So another anecdote in the source material highlights aparigraha, this principle of non-attachment, specifically in relation to possessions. And it advises against accepting gifts, even when they're needed, because it creates a sense of obligation and dependence, which, could hinder your spiritual growth.
Right.
It seems counterintuitive to refuse help, when you need it. But I can see how clinging to things could create this mental clutter that gets in the way of spiritual progress. So aparigraha is about cultivating inner freedom.
That's a great way to put it. It's about recognizing that true abundance comes from within, not from external things. So by detaching ourselves from these material possessions, we cultivate this inner richness.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a powerful concept. Okay, so we've covered Yama. That's the ethical foundation.
Right.
What's next on this 8-step path?
Next is Niyama, which builds upon this ethical foundation
Okay.
by adding in practices of self-discipline.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork with Yama.
Right.
Now, how does Niyama kind of take us deeper into this journey of self-discovery?
So Niyama focuses on 5 principles: Saucha, purity; Ishvar pranithana, devotion to God; Tapas, austerity; Svadhyaya, study of scriptures; and Santosha, contentment.
Okay, 5 principles. So it's about taking those ethical principles that we talked about with Yama and really integrating them into our daily lives through this discipline practice.
Hmm. And it's not just about outward actions. It's also about cultivating a positive mindset and focusing on your spiritual growth.
Okay.
And this can be done through practices like mantra repetition.
Ah, mantras. Can you tell me a little bit more about how those fit into, this path of self-discipline?
Well, mantras are basically sacred sounds or phrases that you can repeat
Mm.
in order to focus your mind and connect with this higher consciousness.
Okay.
The source material actually emphasizes that mental repetition, so you're focusing on the mantra's meaning without even saying it out loud, is the most powerful form.
So it's almost like cultivating this deep inner stillness and concentration,
Yes.
which seems crucial for, navigating the complexities of this spiritual path.
It is.
Okay. So it's about training your mind to be laser focused, not just on the sounds, but on the essence of the mantra.
Yes.
Okay, this is all incredibly fascinating, but we've only explored the first 2 steps of Raja Yoga.
You have.
So what comes after this foundation of ethical conduct and self-discipline?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay,
We'll dive into that next
that's
time.
where things get really interesting.
We move into the realm of the physical body with Asana and Pranayama.
Oh, yeah.
These are practices that are designed to prepare us for the deeper internal work ahead.
This is where we get to the poses and all that, right? The things that people usually think about with yoga.
Yeah, that's right. Asana is all about assuming a steady and comfortable posture.
Okay.
And the source material really emphasizes finding a posture that allows for this free flow of energy throughout your whole body, creating this sense of stability and grounding. But it's pranayama, the practice of controlling prana, that really takes center stage here.
Pranayama, that's about controlling your breath, right?
Exactly.
I'm curious to know more about how that connects to this idea of prana, though.
So think of prana as your vital life force.
Okay.
It's like the energy that animates your being. It flows through you like a river. And pranayama is about learning to direct that flow consciously through these specific breathing exercises.
So it's like we're kind of taking the reins of our own internal energy system.
Exactly.
I like that. That's a cool way to think about it. So are there specific pranayama techniques?
Mhm.
What are some examples? What kind of effects can you expect?
Well, the source material actually describes pranayama as having these 3 levels, each one with its own physical effects.
Okay.
So the first level is achieved by holding your breath for 12 seconds,
Okay.
and that results in perspiration, which
Yeah.
is said to purify the body. The second level, you hold your breath for 24 seconds,
Okay.
and that leads to this quivering sensation, which indicates this deeper level of energy activation.
Oh, wow.
And then the third level, achieved by holding your breath for 36 seconds, is said to actually lead to levitation.
Levitation.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that sounds incredible. I can't imagine achieving that level of mastery over prana.
Yeah.
I bet it takes years and years of dedicated practice.
I'm sure it does.
What can you tell me about the practical aspects of pranayama, though? What's it actually involve, day to day?
Well, the source mentions the Gayatri mantra as this focal point during practice, which, highlights this interconnectedness of the different limbs of Raja Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
But the practice itself is divided into 3 parts.
Okay.
The first is rechaka, which is the exhalation. Then there's puraka, the inhalation. And then finally, kumpaka, which is the retention of breath.
So each one of those has to be controlled.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're regulating that flow of prana.
So it's not just about holding your breath. It's about consciously controlling the whole breathing cycle. That's really interesting. I'm starting to see how all of this, the asana and pranayama, the physical practices, kind of prepare the body and the mind for this deeper internal work that we're about to explore.
Exactly. You're creating this strong foundation, physically and ethically, to really support your journey inward. So are you ready to dive into the realm of these internal practices?
Absolutely. We've covered the ethical foundations. We've covered the physical practices.
Yeah.
What's next on this ladder toward enlightenment?
Now we enter the realm of Pratyahara, Dhyana, and Samadhi.
Okay.
These are the internal practices where we really turn our attention inward and we cultivate these deep states of concentration and awareness.
Okay. I'm excited to hear about this. These sound like the most mystical aspects of Raja Yoga.
Yeah.
So can you break these down for me? What does each one entail?
So Pratyahara is all about gaining mastery over your senses.
Okay.
It's like you're closing the shutters on the outside world and you're turning your attention inward. You're shutting off all the external noise and distractions.
Hmm.
And you're focusing solely on the subtle sensations within your body and mind.
So creating that sense of inner stillness amidst all the chaos of like the external world.
Exactly.
So what happens once we've achieved that sense of stillness? Where do we like direct our attention?
That's where Dhyana comes in.
Okay.
Dhyana is the practice of concentrating your mind on a single point. This could be your breath, a mantra, the heart chakra, or even a mental image. The source material actually mentions that that controlling the optic nerves is key to controlling the will.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So by like focusing our gaze, we're actually training our minds to become more disciplined and focused.
Right.
Okay, like we're strengthening our mental muscles.
Exactly. And then once you've developed that single-pointed focus through Dhyana, you naturally progress to Dhyana, which is sustained meditation. This is where your mind becomes completely absorbed in the object of your focus.
Okay.
And all those distracting thoughts just start to fade away.
So you're entering the state of flow, completely present and immersed in the moment.
Exactly. Dhyana sounds like a really deeply peaceful and transformative state.
It is.
So where does Samadhi fit into all of this?
Samadhi is the culmination.
Okay.
It's like the pinnacle of this whole inward journey.
Isn't that the ultimate goal of yoga, Samadhi?
You're right, it is. It's the state of pure unity where the mind transcends all limitations and kind of merges with the divine. Imagine a drop of water merging into this vast ocean. It loses its individual identity and it becomes one with the infinite. That's Samadhi.
Wow. That's a beautiful analogy. But I mean, achieving Samadhi seems like a really lofty goal.
It is.
Does the source material offer any like practical guidance, for those of us who are just starting out on this path?
It does. It emphasizes the importance of creating the right conditions for your practice.
Okay.
Both internally and externally. So, finding those quiet, secluded spaces that are free from distractions.
So no practicing yoga in a bustling coffee shop.
Probably not the ideal place, but, maybe finding a secluded mountaintop retreat isn't feasible for everyone. So the key is to just create a space where you can minimize those distractions, even if it's just a corner of your room.
Okay. So it makes sense that like our environment would have an impact on our ability to go deep within.
It does.
What other kind of guidance does the source offer regarding like the ideal conditions for practice?
Well, it also advises against practicing when you're feeling, ill or lazy or emotionally disturbed. The idea is to approach your practice with this clear and focused mind.
So self-awareness is key.
Yes,
Paying attention to our physical and mental state before we even begin.
it is.
It seems like Raja Yoga really is a holistic system addressing all aspects of our being.
Absolutely. You're creating this harmony between your inner and outer worlds, aligning your actions with your values.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you're realizing your full potential as a spiritual being.
So we've climbed that 8-step ladder of Raja Yoga. We've explored the ideal conditions for practice. We've even touched on the possibility of levitation through breath control. What's like the key takeaway from all of this? What's the overall message that the source material is conveying?
So we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Raja Yoga.
We have.
From the ethical foundations to the physical practices to those profound internal states of Dhyana and Samadhi.
Right.
And it's clear this is a pretty multifaceted system
It is.
with a lot of potential to transform our lives on multiple levels.
Definitely. And what's interesting is that while the path of Raja Yoga does require, discipline and effort,
Right.
it's not about like becoming a world-renouncing ascetic or anything like
Oh,
that.
okay.
It's about cultivating mastery over your own mind and your own energy.
Hmm.
And those are skills that you can then apply to any aspect of your life.
So it's not about escaping the world,
No.
but engaging with it from a place of greater clarity and purpose. Exactly. And the source material emphasizes this point beautifully with that story about Narada and the two men seeking liberation.
Right.
Remember how the man who was willing to persevere through countless lifetimes was granted enlightenment, like instantly?
Yeah.
That it says a lot about the power of unwavering dedication and a positive attitude, even when things are tough.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that it's not just about the destination,
Mm-hmm.
but about like the journey itself and the attitude that we bring to it.
Exactly.
It seems like this idea of integration is really key to Raja Yoga.
Yeah.
We're not just compartmentalizing these practices,
Yeah.
but we're weaving them into the fabric of our everyday lives.
Absolutely. And the 8 limbs of Raja Yoga aren't meant to be practiced like in isolation from each other. They're interconnected, they support one another.
Mhm.
So Yama and Niyama, those ethical and self-discipline practices,
Yeah.
those form the foundation. Asana and Pranayama prepare the body and the energy. And then Pratyahara, Dhyana, and Samadhi.
Right.
Those guide you towards inner transformation
Okay.
and ultimately liberation.
So it's like a symphony
Yeah,
where each instrument has its own part to play,
it is.
but they all come together to create this harmonious whole.
That's a great way to put it.
And just like learning to play an instrument,
Right.
mastering Raja Yoga takes time and dedication
It does.
and a deep understanding of each of those elements.
Absolutely. And what's so inspiring about it is that this journey is open to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of background or beliefs.
Mhm.
The important thing is the willingness to embark on the path with sincerity and dedication.
So it sounds like Raja Yoga offers this wealth of tools and techniques
It does.
that can be adapted to meet our individual needs and aspirations. It's not like a one-size-fits-all approach, is it?
Nope, not at all.
But a path that really invites us to explore and discover what resonates most deeply with us.
Yeah, and the source material ends with this really thought-provoking question. What aspects of Raja Yoga resonate most with you, and how could you integrate them into your own life? So, you know, maybe it's cultivating greater nonviolence in your interactions. Maybe it's dedicating yourself to a practice of mindfulness.
Right?
Maybe it's simply just finding moments of stillness in your day. There are countless ways to bring these ancient teachings into our modern lives.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey exploring the depths of Raja Yoga.
It has.
And I would encourage all of our listeners to delve deeper into these teachings
Yeah.
if they feel called to do so.
I agree.
You might be surprised by what you discover within yourself.
The possibilities are limitless when you tap into that power of your own inner potential.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Raja Yoga.
Of course.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.